Ball is Life here with longtime Westchester of Los Angeles head coach Ed Azzam. Coach, you're a six-time state champion, and you're coming up on a big milestone here in the Alley City section ranks. You first were Westchester's coach in the 79-80 season, and we're here at the Tarkanian Classic. Just talk a little bit about that perspective and what's some general things you've learned over the years about the high school game.
Well, that's a awful vague question. You leave the door wide open. So,
sure, yeah, take it wherever you want.
I guess when I started in 79-80, I was a very young coach. Didn't know what I was getting into. Had an opportunity to play for a great man with Charlie Sands over at West LA College.
Sure.
Was my mentor and teacher. So I based my philosophy on what he taught me and the kids at that time. So we were a team that was tried to get them to play hard-nosed man-to-man defense, pressure the ball, get the ball up and down the floor. And the kids that we inherited were nice kids, upper middle class kids that they just wanted to play and have a good time. And competing and winning wasn't in the vocabulary. And at the time, Crenshaw was in our league, and Crenshaw was the dominant team in the city and the state, for that matter. So my perspective at that time was I want to be competitive in every game. Winning was not the primary focus,
at the beginning.
Just being competitive. It's still, winning is a byproduct of having great talent, which we have now. But at the time, our talent wasn't as good as it has been lately. So we wanted to be competitive against the best teams. We won, but and so I carry that philosophy on now. And so even with great players, the number one goal is to be competitive in every game, and be as precise and be willing to be taught. And it's always been a mantra of mine that I'll teach, but you have to be willing to be taught. And some kids aren't. And they're very difficult to coach, and sometimes some better players have to go away because they don't want to be taught.
Understood, and that's a testament to your philosophy and sticking with it. You guys, like you said, didn't have great records in your first few years. Then you turned the corner. You guys went to the championship game in 1984. Was that a byproduct of talent? You obviously had Kevin Floyd who went to Georgetown, or did the kids start keep buying in as time went by, or was it just more the talent?
It was, by that time I'd been there 4 years, and my philosophy now was ingrained in the kids. I'd had that freshman class, and so my system was there. They knew what to expect from year to year, and we had better talent. And so, even if my system was in and we didn't have the talent, we weren't going to go very far. But we had very good players, smart players that bought in and overachieved a little bit. And the year before we went to the finals, we were 0-10 in league.
Sure, in the '83 season.
Yeah, and so, the good news is everybody's coming back, but that's also the bad news because we were 0-10. So, but they learned, they got better, and had a tough league, and ended up playing Crenshaw in the finals. Had a good run through the city playoffs.
Sure, a lot of people don't know that you guys didn't really win the league title. You won your first league title 10 years in. So what advice would you offer a coach, maybe a younger guy who's maybe feeling a little frustrated and wants to really coach, but he's getting frustrated by getting over that hump at the beginning? What advice would you give a coach to stick with it, and if he really loves that craft?
I think you have to, as a young coach, decide why you're doing it. If you're in it for glory, if you're in it for money, then you're in the wrong business. If you're in it to teach, or if you're in it to make an impact on young kids' lives, whether they're players or managers or stat girls, it doesn't make any difference. If you're in it to do that, then winning those league championships isn't as important. As a competitor, you want to strive for that, and you never want to settle for anything less than being successful. But what is your definition of success? Is it winning a city championship? Is it winning a state championship? That's never been mine. I want to see the kids on the floor be a reflection of not only myself, our coaching staff, but their parents and the school, and have some pride in the jersey that they're wearing. And so over the years, that's been good to us, and I think young coaches have to understand patience. And in this age of instant gratification,
people want their kids to play.
Well, not just parents, players, coaches want to win right now. And I've been doing it for 2 years and 3 years, and we can't get over the hump. Well, that's not the hump.
Yeah.
That's not why you're in it. The hump may be 10 years from now. Sure. If you enjoy teaching, if you enjoy coaching, then you're in it for the long haul. And like I said before, if you're in it for glory, if you're in it for championships, you're going to be disappointed. And kids are going to let you down, and you're going to blame them, and it's not them.
Got it. Coming a few years later, you guys return to the city finals. You guys were playing Manual Arts, I believe, and most people probably thought you guys were the favorite. I'm sorry, that they were the favorites. The Toilers
they were definitely the favorites.
Yeah, they were the favorites.
They beat us by 30 in league, so yeah, they were definitely the favorites.
They were the favorites, and they were in 90-91, and you guys finally won, and then you came back and won back-to-back in 92, two back-to-back 4As. What changed? Did something click with you guys, or did you learn from your previous experiences, and then from there you guys were basically competitive in statewide level from that point on?
That team had an attitude. They had a confidence about them.
Sure.
They believed in themselves. They were a very young team.
Yeah.
In today's basketball, they would have had to been, most of the kids graduated at 16 and 17 that second
players.
year. And so the year that we won it the first year, we just kept getting better and better.
Sure.
And by the end of the year, we were not the same team we were at the beginning. And kids like Leroy O'Brien, the Ball brothers, James Gray, they just continued to improve. And by the end of the year, we did some really good things, and we bothered Manual in the finals, and they took us very lightly. And then the next year,
30,
they were easy 30 points better than us, but not at the end of the year. The end of the year was going to be a competitive game, no matter what.
Sure.
And then the next year, we were better than anybody. We were 20 points better than anybody because we had all those guys that had been through the wars. They already had the confidence. There wasn't anyone that was going to beat us unless we just decided to give it away.
Got it. Obviously, you're at 800 wins. You started the season with 796 wins, and Coach West at Crenshaw is 803 and 140 in his illustrious career. And it's funny that it's a contrast. You started struggling. He started like 49 and 1. He only lost like one game in his first 3 years, and he won 8 state titles. So a few years later, you guys get over the hump. After he wins his last of 8 state titles, you win your first in 1998, and you had current USC assistant Tony Bland, Brandon Glanville, and Dave Blumenthal. You guys had a great team. What got you guys over the hump, and how gratifying was that first one, and what do you recall, and what can you say about those guys?
It was a very gratifying year. We had great talent. We were very fortunate. Again, my goal, besides the competitiveness, is to win the league, to compete for a city championship. State championship's just gravy. It's become a big deal now, but it wasn't back then.
Okay.
I mean, it was a big deal, but
sure,
it was new, and so especially for us. But it was a terrific accomplishment for those kids. I mean, to have never been there and to go in and do a great job and end up winning the state was really a great feeling. The first is always, the best. But it was a fun group of kids, a smart, talented group of guards and big kids that really enjoyed playing with each other, and to this day remain good friends. And so it was really a great accomplishment for that team.
And as Coach West started to wind down, you guys started winning, and you guys won some city championships. In the early 2000s, you guys were really rolling. You had a team that had 3 NBA players on it there with Bobby and Trevor and those guys. In stark contrast to your earlier teams, what challenge did it bring to you? Obviously, you guys had some great teams, but what challenge did it bring to you to coach that much Division I talent, 8, 9 D1 players on one team? And how did you handle that? And what advice would you give other coaches if they're lucky enough to get a team that good?
Yeah, to me, it's always been more difficult to coach great players, great talent, especially with that many good players, because they all have to buy into the team game. They can't figure they're going to score 25, 30 points a game because there's not enough points to go around. And so getting them to buy in, getting them to think as a team and not as individuals is a very difficult thing when you're dealing with great players. And you got to have the right attitude. They've got to have the right attitude. And I've found it's much easier to coach teams that aren't as talented because you can restrict what they do. and what they're not capable of doing, you can say don't try to do it.
Yeah.
With great players, there's a lot more freedom. And as a coach, sometimes you want to control things on the floor, and the better the talent, with certain teams you have to let them play a little bit, and if you don't, you try to rein them in, they won't play.
Understood.
So it's sometimes more difficult to coach more talent.
Got you. Obviously, we mentioned Bobby. He wasn't really the best considered for the media or from the scouting side, the best player on your team. He made it to the highest level. Were you surprised? Did you see anything in him that others maybe didn't, that he could play at that level?
From the time he started playing with us, he played JVs with Trevor Ariza and Scott Cutley.
Sure.
And they played JVs their freshman year. And even at that point, as small as Bobby was, he was the best scorer of the three.
Okay.
So he could always score.
Sure.
Defense was not a word he bought into, sure, which is why he struggled so much with us and at the next level even. But he always been able to score, and as you go higher and higher, that's what they're looking for. But he's the one kid that over the years that I've noticed that improved athletically after he left us.
Interesting.
So, his senior year, he worked really hard, sure, to improve his quickness, his jumping ability, all those things. And he went from a mediocre athlete, slow and couldn't jump, to a quick, faster, able to jump. And now he has those skills and he can still score. So, but that was a heck of a team with you put those three guys together and a couple other guys. That was a pretty talented team.
Understood. A few years later, Coach West retires, and you come back and win two more with the 2009-2010 team, Jordan Mays, Kareem Jamar, and maybe they weren't as talented as your 02, 01, and 03 teams, but they seem to be really cohesive, and they bought in with your guys' group. What memories do you have of that team? And then to wrap up, what memories do you have of Coach West, and what did you learn by competing against him?
Well, that team was fun to coach because, again, they were a smart team that really played well off of each other, defensively, offensively. Not the most talented team, although there was some talent there, sure, but really played well together and fed off each other. The offensive end, the defensive end, they were a really tight group, and yeah, they enjoyed playing with each other, very unselfish, and it was fun to coach them. When I was at Gardena High, I played, and we played against Willie West team, Marcus Johnson, sure, and those. And so I saw him firsthand, and that wasn't any fun. The thing I remember about Coach West teams is they were relentless. Sure. They played 32 minutes, and they played hard, and he played a lot of guys, and if you weren't ready to play, you got your butt kicked. Sure. And sometimes you got your butt kicked badly.
Blown out.
Because they were going to continue to put it on you until you figured it out or quit. And so it was a great measuring stick for us, sure, to play them in league and in playoffs to find out where we stood, because they, yeah, dominated the city. I mean, sure, from the time he started until the time he ended, he was a dominant force coaching and with his teams. And so, he did it much faster than I did. Sure. His teams dominated city, state for a long period of time, and me getting to 800 and whatever is more a testament to longevity, sure, than to the great success that Coach West had.
Sure, that makes sense. You guys, he's 8-0, you're 6-0. Neither of you guys have lost in a state title game, and now that you're reaching that milestone, and here you have 800 wins, he has 803. Have you reflected at all about it? Are you still in the trenches as much as you and not worried about that? How do you? You're kind of unassuming. That's kind of what people think when they think of yourself. How do you feel, or what gratification?
I honestly don't give it a moment's thought.
Sure.
We're talking about it, so it's in my head. But my focus right now, and our coach's focus right now, is to get this team prepared to play, sure, at the highest level. The amount of wins is inconsequential to what we're doing this year. And so I've never worried about total wins. It's the next game, the next step. Yeah. And I think, young coaches the same way. If you're looking to next year or 10 years from now, you're missing what you're doing now. And you take care of business right now with the players that you got, and and you'll be successful. It may not be a matter of championships, it may not, whatever it is, but if you do a good job teaching and you care for the kids, that'll come back tenfold.
Coach, we appreciate your insight. That's some powerful words there, and thank you for your time.
You're welcome, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care.